Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Chabruggi, and join me down there in Elkhart's Derek Erliford. How you doing, Derek?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. I was kind of telling you before the show, kind of had a little go around with my van over the weekend. I get a call at 1:30 in the morning from the police department letting me know that, first they asked me if I own my vehicle, then they verified my address, and then told me my van was in a hit and run, and asked me if I could come outside and talk to the officer. I'm like, yeah. So I go out there, and they tell me that they show me the damage, and they tell me a U-Haul backed into me and took off, and told me they caught the person driving, and yeah, I was oh my goodness, it's crazy. I called the U-Haul company on Monday and talked to them, and they're gonna get the ball rolling on the claim on it and everything. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, could have been worse. I mean, there's the damage right there. So yeah, could have been worse. It's one of them things, man. But on a positive note, my 18-year-old daughter became officially a licensed driver today. So she's got her license and good to go. So proud of her for that. She's worked hard for it.
I'm just glad your van doesn't look like that after she started driving.
Do it.
I'm just glad that your van didn't look like that after she started driving
it. I know.
Double T's in the house. We got Bianca.
Yeah.
Ellen Dotson. Esther Unruh.
Mm-hmm. And Mo should be watching here pretty soon. He's told me she's going to. I don't know. We'll see.
Dog. He had to put his dog down last week.
My dog Sammy. I did have to put him down. He's in doggy heaven now. I've got his ashes in on my mantle over my fireplace in my living room. Man, he's definitely missed.
Hope and May are not here tonight. I don't want to get too into it because it's not really my story to tell, but May's son had an issue tonight. He had to go to the hospital. He's fine. He's clumsy, but he's fine. But they're up at the ER getting some stitches right now. I guess he cut his leg while trying to cook dinner, which, I mean, who hasn't severed their leg when they were trying to cook dinner, you know? I mean, that's a totally normal thing to happen. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. Stephanie's just now getting home. She went to a meeting tonight with some friends here in Elkhart. And yeah, she just pulled up. They're hanging out in the car. But yeah, we can go ahead and get into some cases. Also, there was no in the free zone with Norm on Tuesday night. Norm was not feeling well Tuesday. He messaged me around, we were supposed to go live at 8 o'clock last night. He messaged me around 4 and said he wasn't feeling well. And I talked to him today, and he said he went to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday. And I don't know if he went to school today or not, but he wasn't feeling well. But he says he feels better today. He says he's still just really tired. So just no Norm until Sunday. Probably going to say hi. I've got to go to bed for work in the morning. Thank you so much, Run for Justice. Thank you for hanging out.
Dripping in to say hi? Okay.
Yep, dripping in to say hi. Let's go ahead and get in some cases, though, brother.
All right, man. This is Dietrich Foster, missing from Independence, Kansas since April 12, 2020. He was 37 when he went missing. He's now 42, 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. He was reported missing on May 12th of 2020. He was last seen around April 12th, 2020 in Independence. KBI agents and detectives from the Independence Police Department are conducting the case as a homicide based upon findings during the investigation into Dietrich's disappearance. Again, at the time of his disappearance, Dietrich was 37. He's now 42. He's 5'9", weighs 190 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes. Dietrich has a scar on his chest from heart surgery and a scar on the right side of his nose. Has the following tattoos: a cross on his right forearm, the astrological sign for Gemini on his right arm, 3 dice on his arm, the name Dejeuner on his arm, and the word Foo on his abdomen. If you have any information regarding Dietrich's disappearance, so you know his whereabouts, please call the Independence, Kansas Police Department at 620-332-1700 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And there is a governor's reward of $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the disappearance and suspected murder of Dietrich Foster. So, have any information at all, get that in there quickly so they can see if it's something they need. I like Margaret DeYounger's comment over there. She says, "Hello, Derek and Ricky and community. Let's do this."
Let's
I like
do.
that. I like that.
My eyes are in horrible shape, man. I was talking to a friend today. Like, it seems like the later it gets in the day, I have trouble seeing more. Close up, like my phone. If I take my glasses off, I can see my phone better at night only. But the last time I went to an eye doctor, which is probably 2.5, 3 years ago, like I have eye insurance through my wife's job. I've had it forever, but I still only get glasses every like 4 years because I'm lazy. But the last 2 times they were kind of worried about my eyes because of my diabetes. So I'm going to go to the eye doctor here in the next month or two to I'm actually thinking about getting the laser eye surgery just to go ahead and nip it in the bud and just fix my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I heard today though that excuse me. I heard today though that even if you get the laser eye surgery, that your eyes could mess up again after a few years, depending on how damaged they are. That's what I heard from somebody today. Which made me, hey, my dog's going crazy. Here we go. Price one day. How lucky am I? The lives are keeping in mind off hurricane. Yeah.
Definitely prayers to Florida because they're getting hammered again right now.
My buddies. So I'm in I used to be in a bunch of group chats, but now I'm just in one, and it's for Norm from over here at Back Home Media. He has a show called In the Free Zone with Norm, and we have like a chat we call the Writers Room. It's me and like 5 other podcasters from all over the country. And Rowd, who's on that show, who's on in that group, he hosts the Garage Conspiracy Hour. He showed today. He said that he was sitting in his office. Him and Brandon and Raleigh were sitting in their offices, and they all had like 4 streams on, and there was just tornadoes all over Florida today before the hurricane even hit.
Oh, I know. There was like 19 of them. Had like 150 tornado warnings and like 19 actual tornadoes, and it was crazy.
Yeah,
I feel for the people in Florida and the Carolinas and all that are getting hit by all that. Oh man,
it's not good, man. Prairie says LASIK is amazing, but you may have to have some touch-ups. That's what I heard today. It's not good. And neither hurricane hold Florida in our thoughts and prayers. May those affected find safety and strength. I just hope anybody that had the ability to get the hell out of there got the hell out of there. I know that some people don't. They don't have a car to just load up into and get out of there. They don't. Like I saw some posts today in Florida. I don't know who was funding them, but they were some pretty heavily populated posts. But they were basically saying like, "Hey, Florida, if your boss says you can't leave, you have a bad job. Just leave. Like it's not whoever your boss is, and they're saying that it's mandatory that you stay for this. They're not worth it."
Yeah, right. My brother's saying more than 2 million are without power right now.
It's crazy, man.
Wow, that is nuts.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends in Florida. My Stephanie's sister lives in Orlando, so never good. It's never good, man. But this seems to be the biggest hurricane for a long time.
Yeah. Man, this is Alex Perez, missing from Ulysses, Kansas since December 1st, 2020. He's 35 when he was missing. He's now 39. He's 5'11", 235 pounds. Black hair that he shaves, nearly bald, and brown eyes. He called a family member on the phone on December 1st, said he'd be coming over to do some laundry. He never arrived at the family member's home in Ulysses. Alexander's not been heard from or seen by family or friends since that date. Alexander had been staying with family and friends prior to his disappearance. At the time of his disappearance, he was 35. He's now 39. He's 5'11", weighs 235 pounds. He has black hair that he shaves nearly bald and brown eyes. He has a tattoo of a bumblebee on his face underneath his left eye. He has Perez tattooed on one of his arms. He has a tattoo of a cross on a chain across his chest. If you have any information regarding Alexander's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Grant County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-356-3500 or the Ulysses, Kansas Police Department at 620-356-4600 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Alex located and back home to his family. And we do know that the gentleman that they arrested, presumably in connection with this case, is now not being charged in his case. So, hopefully they can get some more evidence and figure out what's going on with that. I mean, I guess it was because they didn't have a body. I guess I don't know, which I don't quite understand because other cases are prosecuted without bodies, so it's harder to do, but it's still doable.
I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where who knows what the police know. Because I just remember when that Snapchat came out years ago, where some things were said about Alexander.
Yeah, I remember that.
I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like that had a lot to do with them searching like that area. If I remember, I don't know. I just remember that having some significance, just in my own personal like notes in my head that I take for all the cases we cover.
Right.
But even then, like with no, it's a lot like Michael Golub and Johnson. Like you can, there's a lot of evidence in the Michael Golub case.
Right.
A lot of evidence that puts Michael Golub in places that people said he never was. But I do think until you have a body, it's really hard. Like there's, if I was somebody who was being charged with Alexander's disappearance, like I for sure would be like, well, how can you prove that he didn't just get in a truck with somebody and take off and start a new life? Can you prove that? Can you prove he didn't? I feel like not having a body is pretty hard. But like you said, there's been many cases tried and there's been convictions without bodies and stuff. It just really depends on the evidence that's at play,
Right.
Margaret says she has 30 or 4 family members in Tampa.
Wow. I think I was right, pretty close to where it was coming in strong. That was right in the Tampa area.
Yeah, I think there's another writer in Norm's chat named Jeff Kinney. He's the host of the Independent Infidel from Back Home Media, and his mom lives in the Tampa area, and he hasn't been able to get a hold of her in the last like 5 hours. So,
oh man,
he's kind of freaking out. I mean, there is a chance, like I'm trying to be positive for him. There's a chance that she just doesn't have a signal because of the storm, but it's not good, regardless,
Right. And this is our old buddy Kenny Rychek, missing from here in Salina, Kansas since November 4th, 2019. He was 69 when he went missing. He's now 74. He's 5'9", 175 pounds, gray hair and blue eyes. He does sometimes use the last name Brown. He does suffer from diminished mental health capabilities, and he is on disability. He has not tried to access any of his money since he was last seen. He may have family in northwest Kansas, possibly around Colby. He was last seen at the Gospel Mission in Salina. He left there and has not been seen or heard from since then. He does not have a cell phone, a vehicle, or any identification. His main mode of transportation was a bicycle. At the time of his disappearance, he was 69. He's now 74. He's 5'9", 175 pounds, gray hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Kenny's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210. For Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477, or text SA Tips to Crimes 274-637, or visit www.pd.saliner.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a tip that way, or call KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Kenny located and back to where he needs to be. And of course, I need to get an update on the fundraiser to try to get the money raised to get those remains tested they found in the western part of town over off Magnolia in a creek bed. And last I looked, which was 2 Saturdays ago, it just broke 3,900 and they're trying to get to 7,500. So I'll have to reshare that link in case anybody wants to help get that built up so we can get these remains checked.
I do marketing for a living. Message me tomorrow. I'll make a video you can share on KMU to try to get some clicks over there.
Okay. I work, what do I work tomorrow? 9:30 to 6 tomorrow.
Okay. Just message me sometime and I'll make you a reel to share on KMU.
Okay, cool.
And also you had mentioned at one point that somebody might have some younger pictures of Kenny. Did that ever turn anything?
Not yet. I messaged her the other day and she said she had forgotten and needed to dig them out. And then I waited a few days and messaged her again and I haven't heard back from her yet. So still waiting.
Marcus is exactly trying to stay positive while lifting up prayers for all affected until I hear otherwise. So all those for far loved ones, tonight will hold you close in the sacred heart of Jesus.
Well,
Yeah,
you.
it's you ever been through a hurricane, Ricky?
No, I've never have.
When I was 18, I think it was 2003. It was Hurricane Isabel. I was living in Raleigh, where Brandon, who works for Back Home Media, lives, and to me the scariest part was like obviously there's potential flooding, especially with these last couple of hurricanes. This one that's happening right now and the one last week, a lot of flooding that came with those. But the flooding was scary. The lightning was really scary. But the main thing I was scared of is like the East Coast is just covered with trees, like really thin trees, just billions of them. And I was afraid of like one of those little trees snapping and flying through your house, which happens a lot in hurricanes and stuff. But there's a lot to be afraid of. If for whatever reason you didn't evacuate and you're still there, there's a lot of reasons to be worried, you know.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, no, I've never lived outside of Kansas. I've always lived inside of Kansas, so. Okay, and now we're going to talk about Rochelle Hammond. That's when I got to go grab. Hang on, let me grab her flyer real quick. I knew there was one I was forgetting. Wouldn't be a complete show if I didn't forget at least one.
I want to put that. Oh, there it is. There's a number going across the screen. If anybody feels like they're in a mental health crisis, they can call. You can also dial 988 if you don't want to write all those numbers down. The number on the screen now is made for people under the age of 20.
Okay, let's see. Rochelle Elizabeth Hammond, missing from Oscar, Colorado since August 15, 2019. She was 30 when she went missing. She's now 35. She's 5'6", 120 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. Rochelle was last seen walking away from her Moscow, Colorado home. She left all of her belongings behind, including her phone, her identification, her car, computer, tools, and pet dog. Rochelle had only been living in the area for about 3 weeks prior to her disappearance. She had previously lived in Columbus, Ohio. She may be homeless. Although police can find little evidence in her disappearance, her mother believes she did not leave of her own accord and may have been a human trafficking victim. She does suffer from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and has been prescribed medication for her conditions, which she also left behind. Rochelle's nose is pierced. She has numerous tattoos, including the phrase "live like a lion" on her upper chest, a star behind her ear, a skull on the back of her wrist, stars on the inside of her forearm, a cat with a bong on her shoulder, and other tattoos. And I've got some of them pictured on the flyer there. She was last known to be wearing a black tank top, khaki shorts, black Nike shoes, and a silver circular barbell on her nose. That's almost a tongue twister. If you have any information regarding Rochelle's disappearance, or you know her whereabouts, please call the Alamosa County, Colorado Sheriff's Office at 719-589-6608 and see if we can't help get her located and back home to her family. And there's my kid, right? Oop, yep, right there.
Oh, you got it. Go ahead.
There's my kid right there, the newly licensed driver in the family. Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations, Mom. I'm proud of you.
So she went through several hurricanes living in East Long Island, New York. Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Yeah, Hurricane Sandy was bad.
Oh, yeah, it was. In Long Island. One of these days I want to make it a point to get up in New York. I have to do that. I just have to. I think it would be really cool to do.
Yeah.
Especially to check out the old mafia haunts and whatnot. I'd have a ball doing that. Okay, this is Haley Davis, missing from here in Salina, Kansas since July 21st, 2023. She was 19 when she went missing. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7", weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. She left Salina with a male acquaintance to go to Wichita. She was last active on social media and last heard from on July 21st. And at the time of her disappearance, she was 19. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7", weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Haley's disappearance, you know of her whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477 or text SA Tips to Crimes, which is 274637, or go to www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a tip that way. Or you can call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181 or 316-268-4407 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. There's no shortage of phone numbers to call to get that information in there. So if you have any information, call them, please. See if we can't get Haley found and back home.
Do you know how much they vetted this male friend of hers that she left with?
No clue at all. No clue. I wish I had more on that, but I don't. I don't know who he is. I don't know if police have talked to him. I don't know anything about him.
I wonder how old he was.
I don't know. I do not know.
I just wonder if like it was age appropriate for like how old this man that a 19-year-old girl was hanging out with, you know?
Right. Join the yes, I have a license.
What's up, King?
Don't know who King of Spades is.
He's been watching my channel for a few months now. They're really cool.
Oh, okay.
Dana Jane Bruce.
Yeah, missing from Sedalia, Missouri since October 4th, 2008. She was 23 when she was missing. She's now 39, 5'2", 98 pounds, brown hair, green or hazel eyes. She was last seen at her children's babysitter's home in Sedalia. She had left the children there earlier that day so she could go out for the evening. She returned at midnight and gave the babysitter more money and asked her to watch the children for the rest of the night. Dana was seen at Malone's Bar on Main Street with a young man driving a late model red Ford F-150 truck earlier on the night of her disappearance. She left with the man at 11:30 p.m. Police have identified the man that Dana was with on the night she vanished. He traveled to Atlanta, Georgia after her disappearance. Police questioned him about Dana after he was arrested there on unrelated charges of marijuana possession and driving on a suspended license. Authorities have not named him publicly, but they are calling him a person of interest in her case. Told his questioners that he and Dana parted ways after they left the bar. He never saw her again after that. She left all of her belongings behind, including her hairbrush and toothbrush. She does not have credit cards, debit cards, checking account, cell phone, or a car. Again, at the time of her disappearance, Dana was 23. She would now be 39. She's 5'2", weighs 98 pounds. She has brown hair that was colored brown at the roots, black at the ends with red highlights, and green or hazel eyes. She was last known to be wearing a black shirt with the word Rebel and silver lettering on the front and blue jeans. Dana has a tattoo of a teddy bear with wings and the name Dylan on her upper left arm. She is blind in her left eye. She has a 2-inch scar along her lower spine and a staple scar on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced one time each. If you have any information regarding Dana's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Sedalia, Missouri Police Department at 660-827-7823 or 660-826-8100 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or 866-362-6422 or private investigator Leslie at 910-427-0070 and see if we can't get Dana located and back to where she needs to be. And again, that's another family that's been looking for her for a long time that want her home and they want answers and want closure. Let's do our best to help that happen.
It's almost 20 years ago. I wonder how old the person of interest is, you know, in present day.
Oh, that's a good question. And Ellen Dawson saying, thank you for sharing Rochelle and Dana's flyers on the podcast. You're very welcome. I just really hope it helps and helps somebody decide to do the right thing and speak up and talk. You know, somebody needs to. It's way past time.
I just look at it like whoever, if there's somebody responsible for Dana being missing, you know, and she didn't just take off, like whoever did it, they're like 20 years older at this point, you know, like they're a different person now.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's a lot of time to go by.
Right. I mean, I could not do something like that and then hold it within me for that length of time without just totally cracking. I would have to say something to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And this case gets me going. It really does. This is Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez. It's an unsolved homicide, May 13, 2015, Kansas City, Kansas. 13-year-old Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez ran away from her foster home in Athena, Kansas on June 9, 2012. Prior to her disappearance, Jamie had recently had been prosecuted in a juvenile court for drug possession. She was due in court for her sentencing shortly after her disappearance, and she never showed up and was never seen by her foster family again. There was unfortunately very little media coverage on Jamie's disappearance, likely due to her runaway status. 3 years later, during the early morning hours of May 30th, 2015, a Kansas City resident called the police to report a shootout in the 2500 block of Ridge Avenue. According to the witness, 2 vehicles fired shots at each other, and a female passenger in one of the vehicles was killed as a result. The female passenger's body was dumped on the side of the road, and vehicles drove off before the police arrived. 2 days later, on June 1st, 2015, authorities announced that the slain female was identified as Jamie. The identity of Jamie's killer remains unknown, as does the identity of the driver of the car Jamie was riding in when she was shot. Additionally, Jamie's whereabouts from June 2012 to May 2015 still remain a mystery. Although she was ultimately found in Kansas City, it's unknown where she stayed or how she survived during those 3 years. Investigators said they received a tip that Jamie was in Kansas City back in 2013, but when they followed said lead, they were unable to find her. At the time, police were searching for a late 1990s or early 2000s white Ford F-150 with flare sides, tinted windows, 20-inch chrome rims, and a touchscreen device in the cab. The truck was located on June 2nd, 2015, unoccupied, and was taken and processed for evidence. If you do have any information regarding Jamie's murder, please call the Athena, Kansas Police Department at 785-989-4521, or you can call the TIPS line anonymously at 816-474-8477, or you can call the KBI at 1-800-572-7463, or you can go on the flyer there. You can see that QR code that says "Say It Here." You can scan that, and it'll take you to their website, and you can submit your tip there as well.
Nice.
Yep. But that case does get me going because, I mean, it's just an example of just because you think a kid's a runaway, somebody's, they don't take it serious. They don't look for him hard enough sometimes, I don't think. But this sounds like they did look for her. They got the chip. She was in Kansas City in 2013. They did try to find her, but couldn't. But I just don't like it when they just think they're a runaway, and I just think it puts a stigma on a kid, and it's not taken as serious as it should be. And even if they are a runaway, I've said it 100 times, I'll probably say it 100 more times that, just because they run away, we don't know if they did it of their own volition. We don't know if they were coerced into it, groomed into it, or what. So I mean, I think their phones need to be looked at if their phones are there, or any other devices that are in the home, like video game systems, computers. See if they're talking to anybody on there that they shouldn't be, that may have possibly talked them into running. I just think it needs to be looked at like that, and don't just think, oh, they're a runaway. That might have worked 50, 60 years ago, but that just doesn't work in today's world. It just doesn't. And you're muted, Derek.
Yeah, I'm moving through I'm on my laptop. I'll be right. I'm here.
Okay. But yeah, that's just, this case gets me fired up because every time I cover it, every time I think about it, every time I read it, it's just like, runaway or not, put every effort into finding them because they need to be found before anything bad can happen.
Mark says that poor girl my parents took in, a 13-year-old foster boy who had gone many since he was 6 or 7 years old. Many were horrific to him. Yep.
No, that's terrible. That is terrible. And I know there's some foster homes that aren't the best, and sometimes that's what these kids run from, but I think there's other things they run from too. Like some of them don't come from structured backgrounds, and all of a sudden they're being hit with rules and curfews and things like that, and they're not used to that. They don't like it, so they run from it. And Roxanne Fisher, runaway, is still a missing person. Yeah, definitely, absolutely, 100%. So let's keep that in mind when we think they're just a runaway. Let's keep that in mind that even though they're still missing, and they still need to be found and get returned to a safe place. They really do. This is another unsolved homicide. Cynthia Renee Gonzalez. This one was on September 22nd, 1991, Arlington, Texas. On September 17th, 1991, Cynthia Renee Gonzalez was reported missing to the Arlington, Texas Police Department. On September 22nd, 1991, Cynthia's body was discovered in a creek bed off County Road 313 in Johnson County, Texas. It was later determined that Cynthia died from multiple gunshot wounds. Cynthia was reportedly at her apartment with her boyfriend when her husband stopped by to deliver their daughter for a weekend visit. Sometime later, Cynthia left for an appointment without her customary bodyguard. She was never seen again. Serial killer Kenneth Allen McDuff was looked at in connection with Cynthia's death. Jim Ford, longtime Arlington police officer and renowned homicide investigator, looked at McDuff in connection with Cynthia's case for going on 18 years. He was never able to make a match or a mismatch. McDuff was believed to have abducted the victim from a car wash in Austin, Texas. Cynthia's car, a two-seat Pontiac Fiero, was parked at a car wash in Arlington the day she disappeared. There were similarities in the Austin case and Cynthia's case. He kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed his victim at a car wash in Austin. He dumped the bodies of several of his victims in rural areas. He killed several victims by shooting them. Investigators could not place McDuff in the Arlington area and could not determine whether he was out on the streets at that time, but could not find him as being incarcerated at that time either. Other persons of interest have come up and have been cleared as well. McDuff has since been ruled out by DNA testing. If you have any information regarding Cynthia's death, please call 817-459-5772 if you wish to remain anonymous and possibly receive a reward of up to $1,250. Call the Toronto County, Texas Crime Stoppers at 817-469-8477 and see if we can't get some justice for her family and for her. Long overdue for sure. Prairie Sage says it looks like Derek's in need and ready for some good sleep.
Yeah, we shot a commercial for one of my clients 2 nights ago, and we were up really late. We drove out of town to do it, and we were up late. And then I have been editing a lot and stuff. I'm just really tired, really tired. I'm ready for bed.
I hear you.
It's 10 o'clock, man.
Getting there, yep. Jonathan Jensen. I haven't seen his daughter in the comments tonight, I don't think, But let's see. Jonathan Jensen, missing from Kerwin, Kansas since June 14, 2023. He was 52 when he went missing. He is now 54. He's 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. He left without his vehicle, his cell phone, or his wallet. And again, he was 52 when he went missing. He's now 54, 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. If you have any information regarding Jonathan's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Phillips County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-543-6885 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And see if we can get Jonathan located and back to his family.
Can't believe it's going to be 2025.
Yeah, pretty soon.
That's crazy.
It says mom is watching. Oh, is she? Okay, cool.
Still no flying cars, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, this is another unsolved homicide. This is an older one, actually. And I like getting a hold of some of these older ones because they don't actually always get covered like they should. But this is Betty Lou Cantrell. This was October 1969 in Iowa, Kansas. Tuesday, September 30th, 1969 was the last day anyone had seen Betty Lou Cantrell alive. Betty was a 28-year-old mother of two who worked as a waitress at the 24-hour Dine-Out and Cafe in Iowa, Kansas. She was working the early morning shift that day and was seen in the cafe around 4:30 a.m. by a night patrolman. He saw her sipping a cup of coffee, sitting at one of the tables. By the time her coworkers started to show up around 5 o'clock in the morning, they noticed that the lights in the diner were off and there was no sign of Betty or her car. The diner's closed sign was displayed and the doors were unlocked. Someone notified the police and they showed up shortly after. They found drops of blood and a handprint where Betty had been sitting, along with drops around the diner. The drops of blood were reportedly nothing more than when someone cuts their finger. There was also two coffee cups at the table, one with lipstick and one without. An estimated $30 was missing from the register. Later that afternoon, her car was discovered with the keys still in it, along a railroad corridor at the south end of town. While examining the car, they found two more small traces of blood, but still no signs of Betty. And there were no signs of a struggle in the car nor the diner, and some of her belongings, such as her purse and radio, were missing. Search parties of people soon began, but nothing came of them that day. The search for Betty continued through Friday, October 3rd, still with no new leads on her whereabouts. Around 5 p.m., a man traveling across the old Kentucky Street Bridge noticed a body floating in Neelm Creek. He notified police immediately, and they arrived shortly after. When officers arrived, they noticed the woman had also suffered several blows to her head. The blows were so powerful, her teeth were dislodged. They found a bloody rock nearby and suspected it was used to cause the injuries that she sustained, along with more bloodied tissues. The woman also had a broken finger on her right hand. A finger on her right hand was bruised along with one of her knees. She was also missing a shoe. The body had been in the creek for several days, making it difficult for investigators to identify the cause of death. It was said by the coroner that she likely died the morning she went missing, and her cause of death was ruled a drowning. But officials wanted an autopsy to be done to verify the cause of death due to the nature of her body and how long she had been in the water. Betty's husband, David Contrell, was called to see if the body belonged to his wife. He confirmed that it was, in fact, Betty by recognizing the jewelry that she was wearing. If you have any information regarding Betty's murder, please call the Allen County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-365-1400 or the KBI at 1-800-572-7463. And I did create a photo folder that has this flyer and the flyer of another case we're going to cover, plus several more with a lot more detailed information that I could ever fit on one flyer. So if you really want to deep dive into this one and the other case that we're going to cover, there's, like I said, there's a photo folder with tons of information.
Prairie asks if May is a professional. Kind of. I mean, she kind of just does it on her own. But she does. There's a reason I hired her. I've seen some of her work on she'll post it on Facebook. She does the zombie makeup to herself and her friends and stuff. And yeah, it looked very, very real for sure. Did you see that, Ricky? May's makeup she did?
I did not. Actually, no.
Let me see if I have that somewhere. I do. Okay. We did a commercial 2 nights ago, and we just took 5 retail workers and made them look like zombies.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Hmm.
We're going to do another commercial in a few days at a restaurant with the same kind of theme. So, So we did him, we did Ben. Okay, here we are. We are now here at Sally Ann Hutton.
Yeah, and this is the other one that's in that photo folder that I was alluding to earlier. This is Sally Ann Hutton, September, October 1969, Iola, Kansas as well. Friday, October 3rd, 1969, around noon, a call came into the police about a body found about a mile away from what used to be the Allen County Country Club. Body was located in a ditch at the intersection of 2000th Street and North Dakota Road. Upon arrival, police discovered the deceased body of a woman had been beaten so viciously that her facial features were unrecognizable. She also had other injuries like a broken leg and a back injury, suggesting she may have been run over with a car. Investigators believe that the object she was struck with could have been a tire iron or something similar. They also noticed that a base of a jack was near her body. There was a lack of blood at the scene, indicating she was murdered somewhere else. The coroner placed her time of death between 10 and 15 hours before she was found, so around 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. the night before. There were no signs of sexual assault. Her cause of death was reported as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. The body found was later identified as missing 14-year-old Sally Ann Hutton. Sally was the daughter of Ray and Elsie Hutton and had last been seen Thursday, the night before, leaving an Iola Junior High football game at Riverside Park. Sally Hutton's case is still at a standstill but remains open. There were no immediate suspects or arrests, if any at all, known to the public. Her case has just been passed from one retiring detective to the next. If anybody has any information that might be helpful in solving Sally's murder, please call the Allen County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-365-1400 or the KBI at 1-800-572-7463. So, and as I said, I put up that photo album on Kansas Missing and Unsolved. It has a lot more information on both cases. It's a lot to take in, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's worth the read, that's for sure. I could probably do a standalone with all of it. Another case I've been thinking about doing a standalone video on is the I-70 serial killer case. Been thinking about that one a lot lately.
Which one?
The I-70 serial killer case.
I can't believe there's never been like any real leads on that thing.
Right. In fact, I'm reading a new book about it right now. It's called Dead End. What's that called? Dead End. Inside the Hunt for the I-70 Serial Killer is what it's called. It's by a guy named Bob Cyphers that was a reporter for KMOV in St. Louis, and he's talked to like police officers that investigated the I-70 serial killer. He's talked to family members of the victims. He's talked to friends of the victims, witnesses that saw the guy, and stuff. And it's really good read. I'm almost halfway through it right now.
Nice, man. Yeah, May is self-taught. Yeah, so some of the girls that she did their makeup for the commercial, they asked for her number because they're going to see if she could do some Halloween stuff for them.
My daughter's asking, can you tell them about? Oh, my younger daughter is starting to work on making flyers and stuff for Kansas Missing and Unsolved, and currently she's decided to take a deep dive into the Black Dahlia case. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but it was a case in California where a woman was found murdered, but her body was cut in half at the torso and displayed kind of grotesquely, completely nude, no blood anywhere at the scene at all. She was completely void of any blood. That one still is unsolved to this day, and that happened back, I want to say the 40s, the 1940s. And Prairie Sage says, Ricky, I definitely watch, listen. I appreciate this and try to catch every time. Thank you, Prairie Sage. I appreciate that.
And if everybody could, I just made a comment from Ricky's YouTube page. If everybody can go, we're live on Ricky's page right now. Also, if you can go follow and subscribe to Ricky's YouTube page, that's awesome.
Right.
He posts his videos there.
My kid. It's very tragic, but the case is like a lot to think about, and there's so many details. Yeah, there's a lot of information on the Black Dahlia case. A lot of people have come up over the years saying, well, this person was the Black Dahlia killer. This person was. One guy was, his name was George Hodel, his dad. He feels like his dad was the one that killed the Black Dahlia. George Hodel was a police officer in California for a long time, and he wrote a book explaining why he thinks his dad was the Black Dahlia killer and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I just can't believe that one is just blowing my mind that they never saw that one. And like I said, happened in the 1940s. Of course, I mean, there was no DNA or anything like that back then. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was pretty gross. I mean, cut her in half at the torso, displayed her body pretty badly, and then cut a smile like this on her face from here to here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And this one I'm resharing for her mom. Her mom messaged me the other day and asked me if I could share it again. I said, yeah, I can do that. Mrs. Ava Spacek, missing from Wichita since May 21st of 2024. She was 15 when she went missing. She's now 16. She's 5'2", 140 pounds, brown and red hair and brown eyes. Don't have much more than that. Apparently, it's red highlights. She had red highlights at the time she went missing, and she does have a septum. Her septum is pierced also, and she does wear a lot of black clothing. I don't have an exact description, but her mom says she likes to wear a lot of black, so she may be wearing black. If you have any information regarding Ava's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or 316-660-9254 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI is 785-296-4017, and see if we can get Ava located and back to where she needs to be. I mean, I've heard some information on where she could possibly be, and I have forwarded that on to the police for them to look into, so hopefully they can find her. But as of right now, she's still missing and has been since May 21st. So June, July, August, September, going into 5 months here pretty soon. So let's see if we can't get her found. Albert DeSalvo have something to do with Black Dahlia? Was he even born? Was he even born at that time?
I
I
don't know.
don't know. Man. I don't know.
So somebody said they want. So we didn't shoot one commercial. We shot like 50 small commercials, but here's one that we aired today. It's just they're just real 10, 15 second things. But this is here. Ricky's channel is where's that right there? Ricky mainly we go live there. Do you post anything else there, Ricky? Is it mainly just a live stream that goes there?
Yeah, it's just mainly the live stream. All of our past episodes that we've done since the beginning are there. I think I did a couple like experimental things that are like the very, very, very bottom. You scroll through the videos and you'll see a couple of experimental things I did way back when. But yeah, it's pretty cool. DeSalvo was born. DeSalvo was Boston Strangler from the 60s. Well, Black Dahlia was killed like in the 40s. So that DeSalvo wouldn't work. Oh yeah, I'm sure whoever killed Black Dahlia has been long gone for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been getting this. I'm gonna switch gears a bit. Everybody knows I have a Kansas Missing and Unsolved Patreon. Patreon.com/KMU Live. But I've been getting emails saying they're going to a different pay format because of something going on with Apple. Have you heard anything about that nonsense?
I have a Patreon, and I think I have like 4 or 5 patrons, but I haven't logged into that website in years.
Yeah, because I've been getting emails and stuff like that saying they're going to a different pay method and you can delay it and all this other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Was not involved here. He meant to say not involved with Black Dahlia. There is some belief the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run was involved. I'm not familiar with the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. 1947. Thank you, Mo. Appreciate that. I knew it was the 40s. I just can't remember what year. Her name was Elizabeth Short. That was her actual name. But yeah. This is another one that got me kind of concerned here. I ran across it on the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department's Facebook, and I was like, that needs a flyer. Name's Analia Cuby, missing from Kansas City, Missouri since September 16th of this year. She's 15, 5'4", 120 pounds. Her hair is black, dyed red, and brown eyes. She was last physically seen. She went missing by 9:15 in the morning on September 16th. She was last physically seen near the 2400 block of East 69th Terrace in Kansas City. Analia was in contact with her family October 2nd, 2024 and October 3rd, 2024, and is now believed to be an endangered juvenile. They did not say why or what led them to believe that, but said they believe that she's now an endangered juvenile. And she's 15. She's 5'4", weighs 120 pounds, has black hair that was last known to be dyed red and long and believed to be in braids and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, gray pants, and black shoes. Her family is extremely concerned for her safety and well-being. If you have any information regarding Annalea's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call 911 immediately or call the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department Missing Persons Unit at 816-234-5043 and see if they can help get her located and back home. Like I said, they didn't go into any details of why they think she's an endangered juvenile, but said she was in contact with family on the 2nd and 3rd of October and now believes she is an endangered juvenile. So share this flyer far and wide and let's get her found and back to a safe place.
She's super young.
Yeah. So I don't know, something that she said when she was in last contact with her family that leads them to believe she's in danger or what.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my brother again. The Mad Butcher was a serial killer in Cleveland. It was active around the time Nadalia was murdered. He killed in the same manner Nadalia was killed. The Mad Butcher was never identified, and the case not being solved. Oh, yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah. Case not being solved is considered to be the biggest failure of Elliot Ness's career.
You ever watch any of those YouTube deep dive videos where they try to tell you how many active serial killers they think there is currently?
Yeah. Sometime.
Norm was telling me that he read something that said that they think that there's anywhere from 30 to 50 active American serial killers at any given moment.
Yeah, that's the book that I'm reading about the I-70 serial killer. Bob Cyphers cited a source that he talked to about it, or I guess within the FBI or he something, but they said basically 50 active serial killers in the country at any one time. So yeah, it's a crazy thought to think about, but yeah. And then I know FBI for a long time had an initiative going where they were investigating the possibility of some of these serial killers being over the road truck drivers because bodies being found along highways and things like that, particularly in Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. They were looking at it one time.
I mean, if you're trying to be like a weirdo, if you could move every day, that would be a good way to avoid getting caught.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like the I-70 serial killer. I mean, his first victim was in Indiana, and then he went from Indiana to Wichita and killed 2 down there, and then he went back east and has more victims in Indiana and Missouri. So, I mean, he was all over the place.
Did you ever hear about that comedian Vince Champ?
Uh-uh.
He won Star Search in 1992. He won $100,000. And then he became a touring comedian, and he was just on the college circuit. And in 1997, through DNA, they found out he was a serial rapist. And nobody ever suspected him because he was always very nice and professional. But that's kind of how he got away with it, is he would go do a stand-up comedy at a college, do an offense, and then leave town and be gone for a year. And nobody was ever well, maybe it was the comedian, yeah, I think that if you're able to just move to a new state every day, probably be pretty hard to find you, especially in the past before kind of, any kind of technology.
Definitely.
Thank you,
I'm
King.
going to show a pic. Yeah, I'm going to show a. This is the book I'm reading right now that I was talking about, Dead End Inside the Hunt for that Interstate 70 Serial Killer by Bob Cyphers. That's what I'm reading right now. So I got my copy from Amazon, by the way.
When was the last time the I-70 killer struck, though?
The known cases were in April and May of 1992. And then there's some that they suspect he may be involved in, and down in Texas in 1993. But they haven't been able to conclusively link like they did with the others, because the ones that they know of were linked by ballistics. So the same gun was used in all crimes.
So he very well could be dead regardless.
Dead, incarcerated, something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably incarcerated if not dead.
Yeah, they recently come out with information that they think, and they've showed security stills from that store where there's a guy with kind of darker hair wearing dark jacket, pants, holding a gun. They robbed this convenience store in 2001, and they're thinking that he might be the I-70 killer. Well, it was either 2001 or might have been 1999. We'll have to look it up again. Because in tight.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been sick for 2 weeks. Margaret says, or he switched to weapon.
That's possible. Because one of the videos I was watching the other day about it was talking about, I think it was a retired police officer was talking about he wasn't too thrilled with the fact they released the fact that all the guns, the cases were linked by the fact they use the same gun, because like he was like, they should have phrased it that we're all killed in a similar manner and not went into specifics, because that's like, okay, now the guy knows that, okay, they know that I use the same gun, so ditch the gun, get a different gun.
Yeah, but I think that, I don't know. I think that when it comes to, this is just me speaking. I think when it comes to serial killers, you're dealing with like, there's like they behave differently mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a reason they use the same method every single time. I think it's part of the what's the word, like, not tradition, but
signature,
ritual. It's part of the ritual.
Yeah.
Like, and as somebody who has OCD, I don't really have a lot of rituals anymore, but there's been times where I've been pretty bad where, you know, it's like I'll tell myself, oh, if you wash your hands for 30 seconds, then like you won't die of a disease. You know, like if you, when it's ritualistic, if you do a step wrong, it doesn't work. So I think even if the I-70, and again, this person might be gone because it's been a while, even if the I-70 killer knew that the police knew they used the same gun every time, to me, that seems almost part of the ritual that I don't know if it would stop them from continuing to scratch the itch of their ritual.
And Prairie Sage is asking, was BTK found because of DNA? They did use DNA to positively identify him after they had his name, and how they ended up with his name was he'd been communicating back and forth with police and via letters and things like that. And he sent them a letter and he asked them, is a floppy disk traceable? Well, the police were trying to catch him, so they told him a little story and said no. And he told them to respond by putting it out in the paper saying Rex will be okay or something like that in the Wichita paper. So they did that. So he ended up sending the disc, and they got it to the forensics. Forensics went through the disc and they found that it was registered or linked to a Lutheran church down in Park City. And so they started going through the website for this church and found the only dentist that was on because they found the name Dennis on the disc. The only dentist was Dennis Rader. And they're like, oh my gosh, here it is all these years later, and we finally have a name. So somewhere along the way, they managed to get a DNA sample from K-State where his daughter was going to school and used that as comparison. And then after they arrested him, they took his DNA and compared it, obviously. But yeah, so DNA was partially used to identify him, but yeah, his own arrogance and ego got him more than anything, I think.
Yeah, to me, pride is what got, because I remember I was living in, I had moved away from Kansas, and I was living in Kansas for a little bit, and I was watching the news, and to me, this almost seems calculated. Like the police had the media do it, or the media just did it. But I was watching the news, and the people on the news it was a Wichita channel. I was here in Elkhart, and they said, it's been such and such years since there's been any, correspondence with BTK, and I didn't even know who BTK was. So they did like this little 2 or 3 minute news story about who BTK was back in the day. and how he used to taunt the police and the media. And then they
Right.
were just like, it's been a long time. I forget how many years, but a while since he's communicated. And I've always thought was baffling is BTK had to see the same thing I saw.
Right.
Because it was I think that newsreel pissed him off because that's when he started reaching back out. And
Right.
to me, like I think the police did amazing work bringing him down, but at the same time, I think as much as you can clap for the police, I think you have to clap for the fact that Dennis Rader was then an older guy who was completely out of touch with the world he lived in, and he actively and knowingly sent them a floppy disk that might as well have had his DNA in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're right. They found his name, the computer he used to. He basically sent them like his address and everything. You know.
Yeah.
So to me, pride and just basically being old and out of touch is why he's sitting. And I saw a picture of him recently. He does not look good. He is
No, he doesn't. I saw the same picture you did, and look at what we did her already, and her.
Yeah,
her.
It keeps moving.
There we go.
There we go. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I'll try to pull up a picture. Dennis Rader is very, very not young anymore.
Yeah, and his daughter's been to see him a couple times and said that he's basically deteriorating in prison, but his mind is still sharp as a tack. He still very much has his mind. So, but anyway, this one's Darren Walker, missing from Wichita, Kansas since May 20th of 2021. He was 53 when he went missing. He's now 57. He's 5'11", 175 pounds, blonde, and hair that is graying and blue eyes. Lastly, in the area of Central and Waco in Wichita. In the past, he frequented the area of Pawnee and Meridian, also in Wichita. Darren had been recently released from the hospital for cancer treatment, which has led to the use of a colostomy bag. He needs continual assistance and medical supplies to treat his recent surgery and is missing under circumstances not conforming to his normal routine or habits. His family is very worried about him. At the time of his disappearance, Darren was 53. He's now 57. 5'11", 175 pounds, has blonde and gray hair that is balding on top and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Darren's disappearance, or you know of his whereabouts, please call 911 immediately or call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-263-6011 or call Detective Donnie Moore at 316-268-4114 or Julie at 316-648-4894. And the family of Darren Walker is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to his safe return. So hopefully somebody out there may have some information that will lead to his whereabouts. Let's hope and pray. There's Dennis. Hey, Dennis, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Let's see here. Bianca said she is sub to the Zodiac Killer's daughter. She has some good videos. Who is that? I'd like to see that.
Dennis Rader.
Oh, I mean BTK's daughter. Yeah, I've seen a lot of her stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's Dennis. He's not looking too good these days.
Of course, he's old, man. He's been around for a while.
He is. Yep. But like I said, his daughter said his mind is still, when she first talked to him, it was like talking to her dad, and then when she started talking to him about, some of his crimes and stuff, he slid right back into the old BTK persona.
Oh, I bet.
No.
My whole thing is when I first saw him on TV, even when they first caught him, he just looks like a very calm, like he doesn't scare me at all. I'm just like, man, I would have beat the crap out of that guy if he'd have. But then, like, I think he's big. Like, it's hard to tell on TV, but I think he's a pretty big guy. Like, yeah. I think he's like pretty tall. So like that kind of, I was like, okay, maybe he's just like a pretty tall, menacing guy. But it's really hard to capture that on TV. But whenever he recounted his crimes in court, to the judge, I think as part of his sentencing, he seemed to enjoy
Oh yeah.
retelling it. Like it was almost like when you watch a filmmaker do a commentary of a DVD. Like, yeah, on this scene
Yeah.
here, I was really proud of what I did. You're just like, bro, you're weird, man.
Yeah. Real quick story though. A while I can't remember how long ago it was, but there's that sheriff in Oklahoma that thinks that BTK is responsible for more killings than he's admitted to because he traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure that out. And I know recently, it's been a little while back now, but they went back to the site of his house because his house was completely leveled because they didn't want it to be a tourist attraction or whatever. But they went back to where his house was located and they dug up a sidewalk and they found even more of his stuff that he had buried, that he had kept his mementos. So hopefully they can get something out of that too. But I don't know. But anyway, when they were talking about all these other, they were basing the fact that they think he had more victims on some of his drawings because he was drawing some like victims in like grain silos and barns and things like that. And they started releasing the drawings. And I had gotten a hold of his daughter through Twitter because I follow her on Twitter, and told her I would like to make flyers out of those drawings and post them on our pages to help get them out there to try to see if we could help in any way. And she was cool with it and gave me her blessing to go ahead and do it. So the flyers are on Kansas Missing and Unsolved with the drawings, BTK's drawings on them if anybody wants to see them.
My only thing is, to me, like just based off of his own words, he seemed very methodical. Like he would pick his victims a while in advance, So I don't know what kind of traveling he did, but unless he was like, again, it's just my opinion, but if unless he was in places for a long period of time, I don't. It seemed like he liked to stalk people for a while. He's 5'11", 175. So again, like not a small dude. He's not a huge guy, but he's like, Ricky, how tall are you?
5'6.5".
Exactly. Yeah. So like 5'11" is really tall if you're standing next to Ricky Tabruggi.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't blessed with height, that's for sure.
So I mean, I think he's a pretty big dude. I think like 5'11" is pretty big.
And this is Celia Clinton. We've done one for her before, but this time she's missing out of Salina, Kansas, here in town. Since October 6, 2024, she's 17. She's 5'8", 150 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. Don't have any more than that, but if you have any information regarding Sylvia's disappearance, her whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can get Sylvia located and back to where she needs to be. Yeah. I know a reporter here in town a while back did some digging and found that Raider was actually registered at Kansas Wesleyan down here at one time back in the late 60s. I was like, oh, great. He was even here in town.
He could have more victims. So I just feel like he liked to stalk. I think that might have been his favorite part was stalking people before he did it. But also, he seems pretty proud of what he did. So I feel like if there was more victims, he probably would have admitted to it by now, just for the gratification of people being scared of him,
I don't know if you want to call it like an ultimate snub or anything to Wichita or anything from Dennis Rader, but during the time that whole thing was going on, before he started recommunicating and people were still all, panicking about BTK and everything, he was actually working for ADT Security, installing security systems on home for people that wanted security systems to protect them from him.
Oh, yeah. He's a weirdo. I bet he talks about it with customers.
Yeah, Dennis is saying wasn't it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dennis, it was a sheriff in Oklahoma that reopened the case looking for victims, like I said, based on Dennis's drawings of victims bound and gagged and stuff, like in grain silos, barns, that kind of thing. So they're trying to see if these were actual victims that he was drawing or something like that. Yeah, per se, that's facts. He actually worked for ADT installing security systems for people that wanted protected from him, not knowing that he was actually BTK. So I'm sure he really got a kick out of that. Yeah, and in that I-70 serial killer book I'm reading, they talked about BTK a little bit, and apparently, according to this book, he was planning on one final kill before he got caught, and it was a woman that supposedly lived a few doors down from him. And apparently, according to this book, he was going to murder her, hang her upside down in her house, and then set her house on fire for his grand finale. I had never heard that before until I read this book, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Okay, getting back to flyers here. This one's Stevie Scott Hammerly and Joseph Joe Grashner, both missing from Manhattan, Kansas since August 22nd, 1981. Stevie was 26 when he went missing. He'd now be 69. He's 5'10" to 6 foot, weighs between 145 and 165 pounds, has light brown, blonde hair and blue eyes. Joe is he was 21 when he went missing. He's now 64, 5'9", 160 pounds, light brown, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Stevie and Joe were taken by two individuals from a party they had gone to on August 22nd in the 1000 block of Points Avenue in Manhattan. These individuals were not at the party. They showed up later. Stevie was paralyzed from the waist down and confined to a wheelchair. Stevie has no upper teeth as they were removed due to cluster headaches. Stevie has tattoos of Love Lisa across his knuckles and a small eagle tattoo on his upper right arm and a devil driving on his left forearm. The investigation into Steve Hammerly and Joseph Grashner's disappearance is actively being investigated by the Riley County, Kansas Police Department, and foul play is strongly suspected. If you have any information regarding the disappearances of Stevie Hammerly or Joe Grashner, please call the Riley County, Kansas Police Department at 785-537-2112. Or the KBI at 785-296-4017, and see what we can do to help get these two located and back to their family. And I have actually, when I first started making Stevie Hammerly's flyer, I was making it for his daughter Lisa, and she has the page set up for these two as well, and uses their flyers frequently on her page too. And I was actually spoke to her the other night because there was a guy that's I wanted to do some write-ups for his magazine for her dad and Joe. So I made her aware of that, and don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see. But yeah, let's see if we can get these two found and back to where they need to be.
I miss magazines.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Was there ever like a true crime magazine back in the day?
Oh, there was all kinds of them. There was Master Detective, True Detective, a couple other ones I can't think of the names of anymore. Yeah, what's Dennis saying here? Dennis is saying I reached out to him regarding one of our cases that looked similar, but didn't hear back after that conversation. That's usually normal. I'll hear back when it's an open investigation. Yeah, that's pretty normal. But maybe it'll lead to something. Who knows?
Yeah.
This is Lorenzo Sanchez. He was recently located and he went missing again. And I was asked to get his flyer up and rocking and rolling and send some more updated pictures. The ones with the longer hair are the ones that are more recent of him. Missing from Kansas City, Kansas since October 8th. Since yesterday. He's 16, 5'5", 120 pounds, dark brown, black hair, dark brown eyes. Last seen wearing a purple hoodie with ripped whitewashed blue jeans and white shoes with red accents. He also had with him a black fanny pack. He was wearing the hoodie that's pictured in the center in the right photo there, and that's the hoodie he was wearing. If you have any information regarding Lorenzo's disappearance, his whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department at 913-596-3000 or KBI at 785-296-4017. And see if we can't get Lorenzo located again and back to where he needs to be.
Last one?
That was the last one?
No, I got this last one right here. That's
the Maya Nave. Yep, that's the one I added at the very last. I just did her flyer literally right before the show. She's oops, I just cleared it up. She is. Come on, stupid computer. She's missing from Wichita, Kansas on September 27th, 2024. She's 18, 5'7", 205 pounds. Her hair is normally black. It's got some red in it. I don't know if it's dyed red or what the deal is. I haven't been able to clarify that yet. And brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Lamaya's disappearance, or you know her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can get Lamaya located and back to where she needs to be. And when I was making her flyer, I did some digging in my files and seen that I had been doing flyers for her since she was 15. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. That's what Rodney's saying down here. Sadly, these people can easily hide in plain sight. Bundy was an abused woman counselor. Yeah, he worked in a crisis center, answering phones for people that were contemplating committing suicide, helping them, talking them down from committing suicide. Actually, is what he was doing, which is crazy to think he was doing that and killing at the same time.
Honestly though, it doesn't sound good what I'm saying, but I think that there's something to it. Like, I think when it comes to people like Ted Bundy and BTK, I think unless you were unlucky enough to be somebody that caught their eye and became an obsession, right, I think you were probably safe around those people.
Could be.
I think with like Ted Bundy, I think unless you just happen to be like, because he obviously there was something wrong with him, and he would get fixated on people and he would kill them, but I think if you were just a person in the world that he wasn't fixated on, like you were probably relatively safe. I think with these people, like we were talking earlier, like the same gun thing.
Right.
With Bundy, I think it's very methodical. I think it's yeah. Now, granted, if you're somebody who these serial killers look at and they keep staring at you, yeah, run. But I mean, if they're just like your neighbor and the last thing they want to ever happen is for you to find out that they're a weirdo, yeah, you're probably pretty safe from that person.
Yeah. Well, like with Bundy, they think what spawned his killing spree was he was really like, he was dating this woman, really infatuated with her, and she rejected him because she said he was too immature. Then later on down the road, he started seeing her again and presented himself in such a way that he was more like the person she wanted to be, and they started dating again, even talking marriage and stuff. And then he dropped her like a bad habit. And then not long after that is when he started killing. But all of his victims resembled her in that they had long hair parted down the middle. So apparently a lot of people speculate that in his mind, he was killing her over and over and over and over by killing these other women because they resembled her so strongly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And yet he denied it. He's like, "Oh, you got the wrong guy. It's not me. I'm going to beat this," and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people tend to think that they think serial killer. They think some guy with a crazy look in his eye and drooling and a bloody knife in hand, and it's just not the case, man. I mean, Bundy's a good example. Rader's a good example. Married, 2 kids, president of the church, Boy Scout leader, code enforcement officer. I mean. And then there was Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. He was married, had a son. He was worked in a Kenworth plant as a truck painter. So I mean, they're all seemingly normal individuals, and you would never suspect them. Never.
Yeah.
And I saw a comment earlier about one that was in New York that was found with a body in the back of his truck, and I'm trying for the life of me to remember who that was because I've watched videos on him a couple times. And I think I've even read a book about him once. And I'm trying to think of his name. I can see his face in my mind, but darn if I can remember his name. He lived in his mom's house in the basement, and he was bullied a lot growing up, and I can't think of it. His victims were all sex workers. Yeah, I cannot think of his name. It's on the tip of my brain, but I can't quite come up with it. But yeah, I'll think of it once we're off the air. It'll hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh yeah, that's his name. But golly, jeepers! I watched a video here recently where they talked to him in prison because he's still alive. And seems to be doing okay. But granted, if they never would have found out who he was and caught him like they did, he'd probably still be killing. Probably.
Have you been watching the trial of that lady that put her boyfriend in a suitcase and he died?
Huh.
That's been like live a lot this last week and a half. Did you ever watch the body cam footage of that lady?
No, I never did.
I'll send it to you. It's probably like a year or two ago. She called the police and said that her boyfriend had passed away and he was stuck inside a suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, well, how'd he get in there? And then so she was like, she was kind of drunk in the morning still. And she was basically like, well, he asked me to put him in there. And then I went upstairs to grab something and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I came downstairs and he was still in there. And he's not making any noise. He's dead. So they're like, okay, that's really weird. So they keep talking to her, and then finally, like, they get her phone somehow, and then they find like she has all these videos of him inside the suitcase yelling, "Please, please let me out," and her like cussing and kicking him, and telling him like, "This is what you get." And then so it's one of those things like true crime's kind of crazy because like that's horrible, man. That's tragic. Some lady like traps some guy in a suitcase and he suffocates. But then it starts to be kind of funny watching some of these people try to lie their way out of it.
Oh, I know it.
You're just like, oh my God, lady, just get in the cruiser. Like there's, she's like, well, no, I can explain that. It's like, get in the cruiser. Like I don't know if you meant to kill him, but you definitely weren't letting him out of that suitcase anytime soon, and he's dead now. So it's just get in the cruiser, lady. Like that's wild.
And Dennis, thank you. It was Joel Rifkin.
Joel Rifkin,
he's the serial killer up in New York. One of them. There's been a few, but he's the one I was trying to think of. That he had the body in he got pulled over for something, and the cop got the whiff of the body in the back and went back and checked it and saw the body, and that's what got him arrested. Yep.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, was it his first victim or second victim? One of his either his first or second victim. He killed her in his mom's house. After he killed her in his mom's house, he went back to bed and went back to sleep. Slept for I don't remember how many hours and got up and was like, I got to figure out what to do with her now.
Weirdos.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy stuff. I've read about a lot of different serial killers over the years, like Pee Wee Reese and of course Joel Rifkin, and oh man, there's Danny Rawling down in Florida. He's another one that was just oh my God, he was a piece of work too. He did all of his killing in Gainesville down there, and there was one gal that he killed that he beheaded her, put her head on a bookshelf facing her bed, and posed her body facing the head looking back at her. Jeez. So the head's looking at the body and the body's facing the head, basically. So when police walked in, that's what they saw. Yeah, he was another good one too, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. Just nuts. Man. Just don't get it. No. Just don't get it. And there's Israel Keys. He was that one that he'd killed that barista in Alaska, but he also was going all over the United States stashing these kill kits. So whenever he went to different places, he had a kill kit stashed in different states to where when he got there, if he wanted to kill, he had a kill kit handy. They wound up catching him, and he went to prison. I believe he committed suicide in prison, if I'm not mistaken.
See, I just feel like Dennis Rader would have to have a kill kit if he was doing any killing outside of Wichita.
Right.
He's too methodical to just wing it, I feel like.
Right.
If I remember right, he kind of winged his first job and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
What was the name of that family?
Oh, the Oteros. Yeah.
Yeah, like he killed all of them, but it did not go according to his plan.
No. He killed them all but the older two because the older two hadn't got home from school. They were in school. They weren't home.
But I mean, the ones that were in the house, like he killed them all, but like that, I've heard him speak about it. It did not. I think he learned a lot that day.
Yeah.
Because it did not go smoothly. He lost. He described losing control quickly.
Yep.
Not losing control of his emotions, losing control of the situation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I hear you. I definitely hear you. I just don't get what's into it. I mean, they say that a lot of these serial killers were like abused in one form or another when they were kids or neglected when they were kids and stuff like that. And that's what possibly led to it. And I don't know. Then they say as they grow up, they start doing things like starting fires, hurting animals. And then eventually they graduate to humans.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yep. Real quick here. I'm going to show you guys one flyer that I did for one of BTK's drawings real quick before we say goodnight. I know where they are. I'm scrolling up to them. Up. It just flew right by at 110 mile an hour. Let's see. Which one do we want to put up there? We'll do this one. This is one of the flyers that I did for the BTK drawings. This is one of them right here. I think it could be linked to a missing woman last seen in southeast Kansas in 1991. Her name has not been made public in connection with Dennis Rader at this time. Investigators know things Dennis Rader said on this exact photograph that it was a drawing he created from an actual barn. And of course, there's any information regarding the identity of this individual, call the Osage County, Oklahoma Sheriff's Office. And there's a number there, 919-287-3131, or the KBI at 800-872-7463. But yeah, that's one of the flyers I did for BTK drawings. And there's more. They're all on Kansas Missing and Unsolved.
Wow.
Yeah. But they're not sure if this is an actual victim or just a drawing from his mind, but they're thinking it could be an actual victim.
Maybe, man.
Yeah. Could be. Could be. My daughter says, "Hey, Dad, great show tonight. Talk later. I'm setting up a phone." All right, honey. I'll talk to you later on. Thank you for watching. You know Dad loves you. And thank you for picking up the ball with Kansas Missing and helping with flyers.
Yeah.
Her deal is she wants to help on the page, and then eventually, down the road when I'm not either if I'm not able to do it or my time has come, that she can just jump in and take over.
Yeah.
That's her goal. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. My health is still good, so still rocking and rolling. Saw the doctor last month on Friday the 13th. Good day to have a doctor's appointment, Friday the 13th. Said everything sounded good, looked good, didn't want to change anything. See me in 6 months.
Good deal.
So I'm doing good. I still take my meds to keep my heart rate slowed down because of the 2 times my heart's gone into AFib, but it's been, this is 2024. It's been 7 years since the last time that happened. The first time was almost 18 years ago. So it's only been a couple times. And it's high stress related. If I keep my stress down, I'm good. But if I get too overly stressed or my stress level gets too high, then I have problems. So, but anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight and going over these cases with us and spending some time with us. Greatly appreciated. And don't forget to share the flyers on the page, share the shows out, let everybody know we're out here and what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. And with that, I'll go ahead and say, Heavenly Father, thank you for being with us tonight and letting us go through these cases with the folks. And, as I always pray, I just pray they reach the right ears, the right heart, and do the right thing and get that information in there so we can bring some folks home or solve some unsolved murders. Just really pray that happens. I want to see that happen. But until next week, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. Good night and amen.